Thank you for joining us on the program. Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, as opposition leader Felix Tshisekedi has returned home. He arrived in Kinshasa on Tuesday to kick off his campaign to replace President Joseph Kabila in December elections. Thousands of supporters from his party, the main opposition Union for Democracy and Social Progress, UDPS, and Vital Kamerhe, his running mate Union for the Congolese Nation, UNC parties, were on hand to greet them as they arrived. Both Tshisekedi and Kamerhe had entered into a coalition deal last week, breaking away from what was an earlier consensus pick of Martin Fayulu as the opposition flag bearer for the polls.
Congolese presidential aspirants Felix Tshisekedi and his coalition partner Vital Kamerhe arrived in Kinshasa on Tuesday afternoon. The return of the opposition heavyweights to the capital marks the start of campaigns as the race to replace current President Joseph Kabila gathers steam.
You've seen the latest polls from a very serious American institution, which places Vital Kamerhe and I at the top of the voting intentions with more than 50% of the votes. With the rally that we will bring, I think we will surpass that. We will get up to 60% of the electorate. We all have the same objective, to bring the changeover come December 23, 2018. We are tired of seeing our people suffering.
According to the Tshisekedi-Kamerhe agreement, Vital Kamerhe would be promoted to the post of Prime Minister in the event that candidate Felix Tshisekedi wins the contested poll. Tshisekedi, who will face other candidates like Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari and opposition coalition candidate Martin Fayulu, has promised to bring hope to the Congolese people.
And to talk about it, we head to Kinshasa, where correspondent Patrice Sitera is waiting for us. Hello, Patrice. Hello, good morning. So, Patrice, it's been a week since the presidential campaign was launched. How's it going, and what is the atmosphere on site? This campaign has started quietly across the country. This is because of the uncertainties that arose the day before the start of this campaign as to whether the elections would actually be held. However, we can see that the campaign is gradually beginning to take off. Posters are beginning to appear along public squares. For the presidential election, we can see the posters of Emmanuel Shadari, the presidential candidate. They're visible everywhere, throughout the capital, Kinshasa. Opposition candidates seem to be dragging their feet, however. I think this is linked to the differences that the main opposition candidates have had in recent weeks with regard to the appointment of a single candidate. Candidate Martin Fayulu announced his campaign team again on Monday, and no further field action for his campaign was observed, apart from a few scenes of jubilation observed in Kasangani, northeast DRC, and other parts of the country that celebrated the announcement of his name as a single candidate before Felix Tshisekedi and Vital Kamerhe withdrew their support. Meanwhile, possible future successor for Joseph Kabila, Emmanuel Shadari, was in Kolwezi on Tuesday after his meeting in Lumumbashi, Katanga, in southeast DRC. From there, he began his tour for the 26 provinces in the country. So Felix Tshisekedi and Vital Kamerhe returned to Kinshasa yesterday. How was their first day of the campaign? Well, Felix Tshisekedi, who will run for president under the common UDPS UNC ticket, was massively welcomed by thousands of militants from two parties on Tuesday. Most of these activists braved heavy rain that fell in Kinshasa since Tuesday morning. Surprisingly, until late in the evening, candidate Felix Tshisekedi and his ally Vital Kamerhe had failed to reach the 10th Street limit due to the crowd growing along their way to the city from Kinshasa's Djili airport. He says they will take another 2 days to announce their campaign team. This is before starting field tours across the country. In addition, supporters of Felix Tshisekedi's UDPS clung to the militants of Governor of Kasai Oriental Province in Buji-Mayi, in the center of Congo, one of Felix Tshisekedi's main strongholds. The UDPS supporters made a massive visit to Buji-Mayi airport just to symbolically mark the return of their leader. This was a time when Governor Ngoyi Kasangi's militants from the ruling party were campaigning for the governor and the ruling party candidate as well.
C'était au moment où les militants du gouverneur Ngoyi Kasangi du parti au pouvoir battaient campagne pour le gouverneur et pour les candidats du parti au pouvoir à l'élection présidentielle.
So the last question, Patrice, what about the campaign for the legislative elections? Because there's less talk about this December 23. Apart from the presidential election, other elections will take place in the DRC. So tell us more.
So
the parliamentary elections campaign has indeed started. It has also gained momentum in relation to the presidential campaign. Some candidates already have their things balanced through radio and television channels as well. We see posters, banners, and other campaign communication materials are visible throughout the capital in Kinshasa and other cities in the country. The campaign in the legislative elections is marked by the entry of several celebrities, including journalists such as Christal Voanga, Ndeko Elizier, Mike Mukebe, Daniel Safu, who fiercely fought against President Kabila's third-term attempt. Most of them had been in prison for the past 2 years. There are also musicians such as Werason, whose early campaign was marked by tensions in the Chashungu popular district. Werason was taken to task by some people who did not agree with his appeal to vote for the presidential candidate. Werason should have been inspired perhaps by many of the candidates of the ruling coalition parties who avoid putting the photos of Emmanuel Shadari, the candidate who did not dare to call on their supporters to vote for him, for fear that they will be rejected in return.
Qui évite de mettre les photos d'Emmanuel Shadari sur leurs affiches. Et Emmanuel Shadari, le candidat au pouvoir, beaucoup des candidats à l'élection législative ou aux élections législatives de l'opposition n'osent pas appeler leurs partisans à voter pour lui, de peur qu'il soit rejeté à leur tour.
Et on va évidemment suivre cette campagne.
So thank you so much, Patrice, for all these details. That was Patrice Sitera, our correspondent in Kinshasa.
C'était Patrice Sitera, notre correspondant à Kinshasa, où la campagne
where the campaign for the presidential and legislative elections is in full swing. These elections are scheduled for 23 December.